There we go.
Yeah, where is that glare coming from?
We're up.
I can't tell.
We're up.
Oh.
We're up on Facebook and
Special
thank you.
delivery.
We're up on Facebook and on YouTube. I just got the notification.
Yep.
There was just a little bit of a hiccup on Facebook. Wasn't letting me join in.
We've got breaking news. Breaking nachos coming through.
Breaking news on Porchcast.
Breaking nachos. We're making some. I couldn't shut up about my air fryer last week, so we got some air fryer nachos happening.
I'm going to crunch them right into the microphone.
Yes. Excellent.
As if our eating on the mic on Beverly's wasn't enough.
You don't want to serve them until like after 6 o'clock, right?
Correct.
Thanks for tuning in, folks, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Thanks for switching over to YouTube on Thursday, if that's what you did. I do want to spend a couple of minutes explaining things as best I can about why Facebook doesn't cooperate with us from time to time. And now I got to take a sip of my beer. I got to take a sip of my beer because my mouth's full of these air fryer nachos.
They're very healthy. Low oil.
I want to try wings in an air fryer.
Yes.
That's got to be good.
Yes.
I was even thinking, too, like, I could start them on my smoker and then finish them in the air fryer.
To crisp them up?
Yeah.
All right. We could do a 1-2 punch. Or maybe we should make wings next week.
Let's do it.
Levi can be here in the background making them while we're on the air.
Good.
And then we can eat. And then we can eat them afterwards.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
make that the day that we shoot here. Let's do that thing.
Okay.
So anyway, Restream is software that I have purchased that allows me to send the data to multiple platforms. Does that make sense?
Yes. Right. So it's one application.
Yep.
That then takes it and splits it out and sends it to wherever you want it to. So if we also wanted to send it to like Twitter or any other
Twitch, any of these other streaming things, we could do that with Restream. The problem is Restream and Facebook are two different companies.
Right.
So when one or the other updates their software, there's a lag between the time that, for instance, if Facebook changes something, it takes a couple of days or a day or some hours for Restream to catch up to that change. That's what happened last week on Thursday.
Right.
Facebook made a change that Restream couldn't keep up with. So
Which Facebook likes to do very often.
It's happening a lot now.
Making a lot of updates. So we, have you watched The Social Dilemma yet? That Netflix documentary?
No.
We watched it on Sunday.
Did you? I saw the guy who made that documentary was interviewed on Joe Rogan.
Okay.
So I watched.
So you probably got
Joe
a
Rogan.
lot of the same information.
They talked about it. I think the podcast was like 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And they spent a lot of time talking on it. They talked to other subjects, but they spent a lot of time on that documentary.
Right. It was interesting. I can't say it was anything that we weren't already aware of.
Right.
You know, algorithms and mining data and that kind of stuff. It's the users being the product. Like, you know, we as the users are sold as the product. But I think what I didn't really realize to the extent that it's happening is the how the algorithms pick and choose what you see in your news feed and even what comes up as news. So what you and I are probably seeing the same, similar things because we have the same kind of political socio bent, right?
Yeah.
But other people people are seeing different things in their news feed and the news that they're getting and the misinformation that they're getting. So it's really, really targeted. And so, us in our blue bubble, we're seeing mostly blue, left-leaning Democrat kind of stuff. And people in their red bubble are seeing continually stuff that's even more in their red bubble. So it really keeps people inside of their own bubble even more than we already are.
Sure.
So that was the part that was alarming to me is how it's really shaping the information that people are getting. I mean, you really have to be disciplined to seek out neutral sources, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't disciplined enough to do that. They're just gonna they look at memes, or they look at Babylon Bee, or satirical. They think satirical sites are real news, or they look at.
I saw a lot of that happening earlier on. I don't think people are as confused anymore, and not to mention the fact that satire has really become real life.
It's become almost irrelevant.
Yeah,
right? Right?
Didn't the Onion
shut down?
I believe that it did, or it's not reporting in the way that it was.
Because it maybe felt a little responsible, like they didn't want to...
Yeah.
It's so close to the real... Satirical news articles are so close to what's happening really that it's hard to distinguish, right?
That's the point that I'm ham-handing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish. So anyway, it was a very good documentary. It was interesting because the people that they were interviewing were insiders. They were people that invented the like button, and people that were the head CEOs of all these different social medias. And I think it's just something that people should really be aware of, especially if you've got young kids, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids that are on social media, and how
what are they
damaging.
consuming?
Yeah. It's hard enough to be a 10, 11, 12 years old normally.
It's hard because you have to rely on multiple sources. And I think that's where you have to have the discipline that you were working at. And then I will say this, too, because I also have been reading more and more articles about this QAnon conspiracy and the people that are involved in QAnon. One of the largest demographics of people that believe in the QAnon, and I should say conspiracies, because it's more than just one. A lot of them they're linked together.
Yeah.
And certain people believe in different parts of it. But the largest demographic of people who believe in the QAnon conspiracies are men and women aged 55 and older, who, when somebody talks to them, they believe that they're tech savvy. But in actuality,
they don't know what they don't know.
They're not.
Right. It's unconscious incompetence. They do not know what they do
they
not
don't know. They think that they're tech savvy. They think that they know how to do online research and stuff, but they really don't.
Right.
And they're trapped in this analytic game that if you don't make some really conscious effort to break yourself out of,
right. Well,
you
because
don't know.
For the last several years, 4 years, we have been told that the mainstream media is fake news.
It's false.
So we can't rely on our most trusted news sources. CNN, in the past, was very neutral. They're definitely more, or the New York Times, or the Washington Post, or the Chicago Tribune, or these.
Even historically conservative newspapers and outlets are being attacked as fake news. I mean, the Wall Street Journal has suffered through that.
Right. And the Wall Street Journal I never really found it to be left. The New York Times, I think, always was a little bit left-leaning, more so now than it used to be even. I don't think that the Wall Street Journal was. It was pretty much straight down the middle.
Sure.
At the very least, financial paper.
At the very least, conservative in the small c sense.
Yes.
Right? Conservative, from a conservative approach.
Yep.
And that's, I think, because as a society, we've succumbed to some of this propaganda.
Yeah.
I know I have.
Right.
I question things harder now than I ever have. And I have to spend more time within my own reasoning going, am I actually on the right path with this?
Did I do enough research to
Did I
verify
do enough
that this
research?
Is, that
Right.
this is fact and not opinion?
Right.
Right.
I'm challenging myself more than I ever did.
Which is good. I mean, more people
I'm not
should-
saying it's bad.
Yeah, more people should be challenging
not-
themselves with what they share or the information that they're spouting.
How many people have the time to actually do that, though? When you think about the time that you spend working, commuting, taking care of yourself personally, all of this stuff, I'll tell you what, at least over the past year, hard, there's other things in my life that have kind of fallen to the wayside because I think it's important for myself.
Right.
I'm so involved and wrapped up that I've put other things on the back burner because I want to see and stay focused on what's happening in the political world.
I'm
Right.
gonna jump in,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be real quick, and then I'm gonna get out of your hair.
No, go ahead.
It depends on what it is that you're taking the time to repost. If you're reposting something stupid that you could Google in 5 seconds and get the right answer, it doesn't take that much time. You don't need to do a half an hour of internet research
Right.
to know that, Obama never said that we should tear the heads off of babies.
No, you
Right.
could
Like-
put
Right.
that put that directly into your search engine and see what comes
Like,
up.
some of the stuff is pretty easy to figure out.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't believe Snopes. Okay.
Right.
But it's not that hard.
All right, let me see the nachos. Lawanda wants to see what the chips look like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, here, just bring the whole plate over so I can show.
I think the other part of it too is that
All right, Lawanda, here's the chips.
and then there's some other people
chips.
saying that
Here they are. Some of them got a little bit burnt.
they're a little brown.
Well, even when I turned it off, I left it in there. That was a mistake.
Right. So these
right.
were just plain tortilla chips that we had, and you just put them in the air fryer. And this is turkey bacon, in case anybody's questioning, over here. So we made some chili the other night, so we're gonna spread this all out and get the nachos going.
Bump it
Yes.
up.
Levi's going to come back when they're done and show us what they look like. Yeah, so I guess the point is just, be smart. Don't be so click happy about sharing stuff. Don't share, memes. Memes are not fact.
It's hard not to.
I know.
Some of them are so
Well,
good. They're so funny.
Right.
I can't resist.
But I think anybody that knows you, Rufus Jefferson, knows,
Right.
we know
There's
where it's coming from.
There's a bend on that.
We know where all that's coming
The other
from.
part of it too is we're so polarized these days, and I think those analytics do have a tendency to jam you into certain boxes.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were saying, is that it further, we're already polarized, and it further
It
polarizes
further
us.
jams you in.
So at the end of the documentary, one of the gentlemen that they were interviewing had been a former CEO at Pinterest, and I think he had been at Facebook. So he had been to several big social media and
Platforms.
high level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interviewer asked, what is your biggest fear, the outcome of the kind of the bad part of social media? What is your biggest fear of what can happen if we don't start to fix this? And he said, civil war. And I was like, well, I mean, the documentary was made a few months ago.
yeah.
So, but, not that really that far off. And what started out to be good, I think the intentions of social media were certainly good. Hey, let's connect with, high school friends, and let's share pictures of our cats and funny videos and whatever. But it just went completely off the rails.
No, I think the politics have driven it that way.
Right.
And my point too is the point that I was making was that I don't fit into a box. Well, I think there has been a lot of conversations that I've had online recently where I'm taking somebody who thinks that they're on my side by surprise.
Okay.
By some of the things that I'm saying, because I don't fit in the neat little box.
Well, it's not that cut and dry for everybody.
It's not that cut and dry. And I've actually had arguments in the scientific realm
Right.
of arguing,
Right.
exchanges,
Discussions where you're on opposite sides of
Yeah.
the debate. Right.
with people who I think were surprised by the positions that I was taking, because I don't fit into the.
Not like a classic
I'm not a.
liberal.
I'm not even
snowflake.
really. No, I'm not even really a leftist. In when you look at world politics,
Yeah.
there are people on the left in the United States that are true leftists.
Right.
But there's a lot of people like me. I'm on the left because I disagree with the right so much.
So by default.
By default, then I'm considered a leftist.
Right.
But I'm really not
Well,
on a lot of issues.
And I think, I definitely tend to be more conservative, small c
conservative.
Than Levi, for example, especially when it comes to like social policies and things like that.
Right.
But generally speaking, I fall more on the left, because if there's 10 boxes here and 10 boxes here, and I'm going to I check more of the boxes on the left
Right.
than on the right. And maybe if the Republican Party was like it was 60 years ago, I probably would be a Republican.
When I looked at that one article, and I posted it up on Rufus Jefferson, I've been posting a stream of stuff that I've been reading. And a lot of the stuff that I've been reading revolves around law enforcement and military, and some of this stuff about the influence of white supremacy and actually the participation of members from the extreme right.
Right.
That's been a conversation that's been happening within law enforcement for as long as I can remember being involved in law enforcement in one way, shape, or form. I mean, I remember going to trainings on that when I was a cop.
Right.
About extremism and how to deal with extremism. I remember when I
How
got
do you deal with extremists within?
Yeah. No, specifically. And there was some of that talk. And for instance, when I was accepted to the police academy, the federal academy, we had to line up. We had to strip down to our shorts and line up in a gym so that they could inspect us to see if our tattoos had any kind of connotations towards extremism or racism or gang activity.
Right.
So
right.
this is
so let's see if you've got a Confederate flag on your arm.
right. And
or
what
a
does that
swastika.
mean? Or swastika, or some other of these symbols that we keep talking about on this show that have been hijacked by some of those.
The snake.
The snake,
Right.
other ones that I'm sad to see being hijacked.
Yeah.
Whatever they may be,
Right.
but certainly, and more than once. You know what I mean? It was more than once. And I don't have any tattoos, so I didn't get pulled out of line.
Right.
But certainly there was guys in my class that got pulled out of the line
Right.
and had to go to talk to somebody else.
So that's
But here's my point.
Go ahead.
So this stuff isn't new. These aren't new conversations. If those conversations are taking you by surprise, it's because you're unaware of that.
Sure.
You were unaware that was happening.
Right. Well, I certainly wouldn't have any reason to know or think about the vetting process for people going into law enforcement.
Right. Sure.
It's not a world that I live in.
Right.
Right. But now we're hearing about it. They're vetting all of the National Guard that are in D.C.
And
right
they
now
found
for the
two.
inauguration. They're making sure that
They're legit.
Right.
And even that's if somebody's really good at hiding it, what they're doing might not.
It's not foolproof, of course.
It's not foolproof. My point is, when you look at who's involved with what happened on the 6th and everything leading up to it, we've talked a little bit about it tonight. The people involved in QAnon conspiracies, white supremacists, racists, literal neo-Nazis,
Right.
Neo-Confederates. I mean, people that avowed to the Confederacy,
Right.
supporting right-wing causes. That's just so ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous.
I can't find any reason or reasonability in any of that stuff. And I don't feel that it's necessary to accept that into the conversation.
Right.
I think most reasonable people know that the Democrats aren't eating babies in the basement of a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C.
Somehow I completely missed that entire story.
That's part of the QAnon thing.
I completely missed that entire story about the Clintons like having a sex ring in a basement of a pizza shop. Which,
that's why that guy went to ping pong. Comet Ping Pong.
The pizza shop apparently didn't even have a basement.
It doesn't have a basement.
Right.
So
I completely missed that whole story, but that is there are people that really fully believe that. Believe that.
A few thousand of them just tried to overthrow our democratic process.
Where does the name QAnon come from? Do you know?
Q.
Yeah.
Is supposedly a top secret agent within the government who releases information through codes embedded in certain ways. There's even a conspiracy.
Do you need to have on a tinfoil hat?
The last time,
that's what it sounds like to me.
This stuff sounds nuts. They literally believe that there's a cabal of people, including Tom Hanks and Bill Gates, that are drinking babies' blood.
Bill Gates is like the most milquetoast, like not milquetoast, but he's a good dude, man.
I think he's trying to do the best that he can.
He's trying to eradicate diseases in entire continents.
If you think about what he's doing, he's fulfilling the role that states used to. But because we're literally having to have debates on the floor of Congress with people who believe that Democrats are drinking babies' blood. That's
ridiculous. I mean, so many of them are vegan. They would never drink a baby's blood.
It's not on the vegan top.
Totally not even something they would eat. Come on, that's ridiculous.
My point is, it's become so ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. There's ridiculousness on the left, too. Believe me, there's ridiculousness.
Right.
I'm not seeing it in the way that it's showing up on the right. That's the struggle.
Our ridiculousness does not manifest itself in
those ways.
In an insurrection.
That's true.
Manifests itself in a million pink pussy hats going to D.C.
Right.
Right.
Or going over to somebody's house and making dietary demands of them because you believe you're gluten intolerant or something.
Right. That's not necessarily left. That's just, nouveau.
That's a pain in the ass. Yeah. That's what that is.
So
that's what my grandfather would have told you.
Well, although apparently there is at least one vegan on the right. The guy with the horns.
No. I don't think he's vegan. I think he has some kind of organic dietary requirements. But they've caved to his. They've caved to him.
It wasn't like he was Muslim and wanted to.
No, he just wants to eat an organic diet. That's part of his. That's how he takes care of himself.
So he's so ripped.
Listen, the handcuff guy. They let the handcuff guy out.
Which handcuff?
They're not
guy?
holding him.
The zip tie?
The retired Army lieutenant or Air Force lieutenant who carried the stack of zip ties.
The zip ties, yeah.
Yeah, in order to help them take hostages. They're letting that guy out on bond. I don't even think they took a bond. I think it's unsecured. So,
meanwhile, there's black dudes in jail for a half an ounce of pot for 20 years.
Or three strike guys.
Right, 3 strikes.
I saw a 3-strike rule in Texas. The guy's third and final charge was shoplifting a pair of sunglasses. Got caught, 3 strikes. He's doing a life sentence.
Life sentence?
Life. White guy. Poor white guy, but doing life.
For 3, are those misdemeanors?
I guess, well, the shoplifting might have been a felony because shoplifting's progressive. The more you do it, it goes up.
Okay.
So, yeah, my point is, I forgot kind of what my point was. My point was there's so much of this ridiculousness that you can't even get caught up in if you want to have a rational, reasonable conversation. And that's why I think it's so hard to try to talk to some of these people on the right, especially if are subscribers of some of those beliefs or are welcoming those beliefs into the conversation so that they can gain votes or influence from them or over those people.
Right.
That's the dangerous gambit that I think the Republicans have played and clearly lost. They've given a big portion of their party over to nut jobs.
Right. So what I don't understand is, well, I guess maybe they know their base well enough to know if they have to rely on those folks' votes in the next election, but now's their chance to really cut ties. Be like, okay, we don't have to support Trump anymore. We don't have to, like, now let's rebuild our party. Let's rebuild our party. Let's find a reasonable candidate for 2024. Let's rebuild the party. Let's try to kind of start over again and get back to where we were 50 years ago. Like, now it seems like that would be, well, a reasonable thing to do. Yeah. I guess I just don't get it.
I don't either.
I just don't get it. I don't,
And
and I also don't get what, like, I think we should have term limits. I think that people shouldn't be in office for 50 years, for 40, like
career
right?
politicians.
Yeah, and also like step aside and let some new blood. I know that once you get in there, you've got a certain amount of. You kind of have to. It takes a long time to get your feet wet, right? In politics, to
learn the
really know
ropes.
what you're doing. Like we talked about this with Joe Cerisi. It's a 2-year term. You don't even know what you're doing for the first year, right?
And then
by the time your first year is up, you're already in campaigning mode for
the next
right.
one.
So maybe that term needs to be a little bit longer for people to really know what they're doing. But why do we have like, you know, and I don't want to be ageist, but like we have an 80-year-old. Speaker.
Pelosi's
like,
80.
80. Like, I don't know. Here's what I know. I don't even want to work past 60. I definitely don't want to work at 80.
Let's be fair.
Okay.
Because we just spent some time beating up on Republicans.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi is there because she represents the majority view of the Democrats. Nancy Pelosi is not a leftist. She's not a classic left-leaning liberal.
Right.
She's a centrist. She's a conservative Democrat.
Right.
Joe Biden is what Republicans used to be.
Right. Right.
So that's who Nancy represents. She doesn't represent the people that do actually lean left within the Democratic Party. In fact, those people are constantly under attack, not just from the right, but from Democrats.
From in their own party, right.
From with their own party.
Right.
Anytime AOC opens up her mouth, she gets attacked by both sides. Look what happened to Bernie Sanders during the delegate votes with Hillary Clinton. It happened right here in Philadelphia. Bernie walked in, the place went nuts. Yep. And when they staged their walkout, the place was almost empty. But Hillary still got the nomination.
Right. Right.
So the Democrats have problems too.
Equal opportunity in the equal opportunities to fix things and to do a better job. But of course, we're not going to get there overnight. We're certainly not going to get there in 4 years.
I would say that you and I are going to be dead. Sorry. By the time we can even, I think, by the time our kids are our age, we might be able to start saying that we've made some progress.
Right. And my dad is always saying, it's up to Harrison and his cousins.
That's right.
It's up to your kids. It's up to that generation.
Our kids.
Our kids. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of work to do. And It's not shocking to me. It's just sad. Like, I knew those problems were there. I've grown up with them. We've
Right.
talked about them here on Porchcast. We've made jokes about it in our private lives. All that stuff was there. I didn't need to get woke.
Right.
Talk to a black person. Talk to a poor person. They don't need to get woke.
Yeah, they already
They've
know.
been seeing this.
Right.
Been seeing it. I think what's so shocking to me is how far that other side, whether they're a minority or a fringe, whatever you want to call them, how far they're willing to go in order to promote or protect or perpetuate the status quo. That's what's surprising to me.
Right.
And the fact that the other thing that surprises me is that the team that I'm now on, there's a lot of people on the team that I'm on that don't seem like they realize how hard that fight is going to be.
Yeah. Right. I think it's overwhelming. It's what can you do?
Yeah.
You know, what can you do when you see the stuff going on in Washington? What can you do? Well, and you know, we talk about this a lot. Is you know, you got to try to do what you can in your own little bubble
world.
and then hope that you know your one pebble drop
Yeah, it
can start
causes
to
some
ripple
ripple.
out. So you know, we vote for good dudes like Joe and for Paul Friel. Hopefully he runs again, and hopefully he wins.
Right.
You know, or people like John Fetterman. Get him down there. He's going to be running for Senate.
Right.
Get
That's
him
what I
down
heard.
there. Get
Yeah.
Fetterman down there.
Right.
You know,
Get
I'd
some
love
more.
to see that dude like in the U.S. Senate.
Sure.
Yeah.
We've got
Like a
we've
real
got a lot of
person.
work to do. And I think the other part of it too is, since we're talking about this, you know, it's the Democratic tent. Everybody says this. I think it's a big tent.
Yeah.
And but I also think that in order to move forward, you have to realize that if you're going to have a big tent, there's going to be a lot of different roles to play. And just because you are comfortable fitting or serving a certain role or doing certain things, we can't be doxing people or whatever you want, canceling people on our own side that are fighting in different ways.
Right.
Because my opinion is there has to be a balance. Some people are going to be diplomats.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have the wherewithal to go and reach out to the other side, or to literally go and try to hug a Nazi to
Right,
bring
you
them
know,
back.
reach across the aisle,
The
as
reach
they say.
across the aisle thing. Or, you know, go sit down with a Klansman to try to see if you can turn them around. That's not a role for everyone.
No.
By the same token, the person who's being a good diplomat, who is cut out for that kind of diplomat work, might not be a good fighter. And I'm talking a physical fighter.
And you need people. You need both of those kinds of people.
Right.
You need to listen. You're going to sit down with the Nazi or with the neo-Klansman or the neo-Confederate. You're going to sit down with those people. You're probably not going to change their mind. But we have to understand what is it like?
Right.
What you have to understand? What is it that you're so? What is it that's going to make you take a Confederate flag and storm into the Capitol? What is it? What is it that you're scared of? What are you scared
It
of?
is
That's
fear.
a fear. It's
They
a
are-
fear.
they're scared.
So what is it? What are you terrified of? Like I saw this comedian saying, what is this? You're a bunch of white dudes. What has this country ever not given you? What has this country ever not given you? Why are
On
you
the
so
grand
pissed
scheme of
off?
thing. Yeah, I think they're pissed off because we live in a society where the middle class is shrinking away.
Yes.
The rich, the power and influence of the rich is beyond belief.
And who's helping to create that? Congress.
Congress, I
Congress
think
is
it's both
helping to create
sides.
that.
I think it's both sides. I think we just talked about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's both sides.
Listen,
helped to
Nancy
create that.
Pelosi has some of the same sponsors that Mitch McConnell does.
Right.
They're getting money from
Yeah.
the same folks. I just read an article about how the Koch brothers were giving money to Democratic politicians. There was Democratic taking money from the Koch brothers.
Yeah. speaking of Pelosi, I'll just add this one thing in. I was watching.
And I'm not saying I don't know if Nancy Pelosi takes money from Coke.
This is completely aside from any of that. Is that I was watching some of the footage from January 6th, which is just really alarming.
The more that comes out, it's just horrifying.
And they're busting into the House floor, screaming, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" First of all, they probably shit themselves if they actually came upon her. Like, do you think they would have actually gone through with anything?
That mob clearly was prepared.
But she's an 80-year-old woman. She's an old lady.
They wanted to hang Mike Pence. That was another one of the chants.
Yes.
Hang Mike Pence. Where's Mike Pence?
Man, they flip on a dime. They like, right? Going against their own. Yeah. So anyway, I just was like, she's an old lady. She's 80 years old. The kind of person that you would help, like a Boy Scout would help across the street. And they're like going in there, with zip ties to take her away. To
kidnap her or kill her or whatever they were going to do.
Terrifying.
Whatever message they were trying to send.
And the worst part about it, is that my red, white, and blue cowboy hat that I got for the 4th of July, me and Amy both have it. We got to get rid of those things now.
There was a whole contingency.
We got to get rid of it.
Listen, I was dismayed.
I'm so pissed. I love that
Let's
hat.
bring some levity into this. There was a whole contingency of Proud Boys that showed up with blaze orange beanies and blaze orange armbands. They've appropriated our hat.
We are taking it back. We're taking back the orange hat.
I watched the video, too, and I saw a whole bunch of these guys in these orange hats, and I was wondering, Jesus Christ.
Right.
So then I was watching more of it, and there was some good work that was done by a writer for Frontline and ProPublica. He's been following these extremist group forever. If you want to see the video, I posted it up at Rufus Jefferson. And I think Vice has also gone through and slowed it down, zoomed in on the patches, and the insignias and stuff to determine which groups were there.
Right.
But through their research, it was some contingency.
You didn't see any Adirondack chairs, did you?
No, it was some contingency of the Proud Boys. If I see any Proud Boys wear Porchcast Pottstown hats,
I will be simultaneously
we're gonna have a
impressed
problem.
and mortified.
And mortified at the same time.
I mean, mortified and like, wow, man, we made it. But yeah, so Amy texted me last week. She's like, damn it. I saw somebody at the Capitol with our exact same hat. We're going to have to get rid of them now.
The symbols.
I was like, no big deal. I bought them at a gas station in New Jersey for $7.
The symbols are being hijacked.
Well, yeah.
That being said, folks, we still have some hats left. It's $20. $20.
It's very warm. I can't.
$5 goes to the Steel River Playhouse.
I put my Pottstown pin on this one so that I can identify it.
I picked Pottstown.
Well, because
now it's yours. You won't sell it to somebody.
I won't sell it. Exactly. So
we also have the magnets, folks. Those are $5, and the stickers are $2. Yeah. Hit us up. We'll get that stuff out to you.
Did you see that the Paid is presenting the another follow-up to that ULI study?
The ULI.
I totally changed gears over here.
No, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
The ULI, just so people know who aren't in the know, the ULI is the Urban Land Institute. It's actually an international organization. And what the Urban Land Institute does is it brings in experts from various fields to study a community or an area or a region in order to give suggestions on how that, for instance, the Borough of Pottstown, things that the Borough of Pottstown can do to organize development.
Right.
Because you want to have a plan. So the ULI
they look at strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and deficiencies and assets that they can capitalize on. So Matt and I both participated in that. Good grief.
I was pretty heavily involved in that, actually.
2019.
Well, the talks leading up to that started before that.
Right.
There had been ULI studies done here in the borough in the past, but it had been multiple years. Things have changed.
Right.
So there was a contingency of people within the community who wanted to do it again. There was also a contingency of the people in the community who didn't want to do it again. In fact, I was one of those people. I thought that we had already identified
You'd already had
some
a good foundation to build on.
Right. I didn't understand why we would need to do it again when we already had a lot of data and a lot of people sitting at the table saying we can put together something ourselves without spending this money because it costs money.
Right. Well, didn't Health and Wellness pay for it?
Health and Wellness in the Hill School.
Right. Right. So it was
So it didn't actually come out of
my sister's calling.
It didn't actually come out of any tax dollars, so to speak.
Right.
But it was still expensive.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah. So anyway,
over
there's a kind of a
$100,000.
follow-up presentation on the state of economic development
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be going to that.
I would like to participate, but January is
There's
just,
so much stuff.
Well, I have like some very hard deadlines for January 31st that I have to hit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I can carve out 3 hours of time to participate in that as much as I would like to.
I'm going to tune in for as much as I can
Yeah.
because now that it's been done, although I wasn't a proponent of it when it was first being discussed. In fact, I voted against it.
Right.
At some of the first meetings that I was invited to, I voted against it. But now that it's done and it's out there, there are some items in that report that I do want to see. Specifically, Dave Garner, who's a local attorney, some people would know, is former borough councilor. He and I had been working on a couple of different projects that are directly mentioned within that report, and they've given some resources and some ideas about how we could possibly get those things up off the ground.
Right.
So that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, so I might have to have it on in the background.
COVID put it threw such a monkey wrench into that stuff because those of us that were already working in those areas that were studied by the ULI, there was already some momentum behind some of the stuff that
there was
we had been
momentum
doing.
for like blighted properties and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
The blighted property, the land bank was being developed as a solution to some of this urban blight that happens. Paid was making some steps to restructure the way it is. Paid is Pottstown area industrial development. So there was a lot of the projects that Dave and I had been working on. We had been working on them for well over years, had conversations with some pretty high level people within the community who we thought were going to be able to help us out from a money standpoint. So there was a lot of momentum.
Right.
And COVID and everything has crushed this down.
Yeah.
The other thing too is obviously the political landscape has changed. I mean, we now are going to be going into some of these meetings on some of these topics with people who voted against our vote.
Right.
I have some serious concerns about sitting down with a politician who wanted to cancel my vote out. Do you really care about Pottstown or about me or something that I am involved with? Because you certainly didn't care when you signed the resolution to vote against the Pennsylvania electors.
Yep.
Jeez.
I'm picking up what you're laying down, brother.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So you're going to have to we're in a position now where some of us are going to have to get back together.
Right.
We're going to have to reestablish our commitment to each other and to the cause, and then try to move forward with hopefully allies that are truly going to have our back and work with us.
Right. Right.
If everything else we're not dealing with is not daunting enough, we have to throw that on there.
So does that work with when you say that a vote should be canceled? Is it only when the one candidate that you like didn't win, or does it all of them?
It doesn't make sense.
How does that work?
It doesn't make sense.
I'm being facetious, but
it doesn't make sense.
They're like, it's okay that I won, but let's negate the votes over here.
Everything else, it doesn't make any sense.
Ridiculous.
It goes back to our earlier conversations. We're trying to reason on positions that are completely unreasonable.
Right.
There was 60 different lawsuits across the country, including the Supreme Court. The people that were for this vote cancellation lost
Every single one.
There was one.
Oh.
There was one that went their way, and it was due to a procedural thing.
Okay.
It didn't
was like a
necessarily
loophole.
impact the amount of votes. It was the procedure of the voting that took place in one of those areas. So
Right.
of the 60-something lawsuits, they were successful in one.
Right.
And that one didn't have any impact on what the actual votes were. It was a
Right.
procedural win
Right.
on the procedure of voting.
Right. And most of the lawsuits were thrown out with such like
Prejudice.
disgust by the judges. Like, why are you bringing this? First of all, you haven't even worded it correctly.
You're
not
are you
even
even wasting
drafting
my
it
time?
correctly, and it's so ridiculous and such a waste of time that it's an embarrassment and a
Right.
an offense to the court that you're even trying to bring this suit.
Yeah, so to kind of bring this whole thing full circle, what I'm struggling with is how do I go back to those tables that we're eventually going to have to go back to and sit down with people who really are going to need to be reasonable when I know that at least outwardly they're not supporting positions that are reasonable.
Right. Right.
It's
yeah.
going to be a struggle.
Yeah, it is going to be a struggle. And this is I know you're talking about things that are micro at our local level.
Oh, I'm talking about stuff right within the
Yes.
the stuff that Dave Garner and I are working on has to do with giving people from the community within the borders of the Borough of Pottstown an opportunity to make investments. Financial investments within their community, one, so that they can take advantage of the growth that's going on
Right.
here, and then two, help to perpetuate the growth and redevelopment of Pottstown. It's you talk about micro, we're
Yeah,
talking
it's
about
right here.
5 square miles.
Yeah.
So
That's the stuff that
but we're still going to need help from financial institutions, from politicians, across the whole spectrum.
right. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
It's going to be interesting, and that's just one project within this. That's
Right.
just one.
right.
So,
Yep, so I'm interested to learn. Like I said, I might just have to have it on the background while I'm doing my other stuff, but interested
I
to
want to see what it entails, other than maybe just them going back over what had already been released. I know that at one point they had sent the ULI study back up to ULI because they wanted some more detail and some more information on some of the things.
Right.
So whether that's going to be revealed on Thursday or not, I don't know.
Yep.
I'm just really, really anxious and curious to start those conversations again where they had left off. But obviously in some areas we've probably lost ground.
Right.
COVID, to say that COVID's not going to impact some of that stuff or hasn't impacted some of that stuff,
Of course.
it's completely
Right.
You couldn't say that. I
Right.
mean, we're talking about using real estate, real estate purchases, the value of real estate, fixing up real estate. That's what we're talking about with this community development program. And obviously the real estate market is nothing like it was a year ago
Right.
when the ULI study was first completed.
Right. Well, and it's different in a lot of ways too. Like, I mean, I don't know if it's still as hot as it was
It's
5 months ago.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So there's people out there buying, obviously.
Yeah, there's work to do.
Right.
I guess really what I'm saying is we have a lot of work to do on a lot of different fronts, and everybody's going to have to, if we're going to be successful, everybody's going to have their role to play. And I would even say this, even if you're in a position where you're just getting woke, you're just waking up to all of those things. Just because Joe's getting sworn in on the 21st doesn't mean you can go back to sleep.
Right.
If you want the change to continue,
Oh.
you're going to have to stay woke,
Yeah.
and you're going to have to find your place to
First
plug
of all, the
in.
inauguration is tomorrow. It's the 20th, not the 21st.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's tomorrow. And
My bad.
yeah, I mean, like, if you think that things are just going to change overnight, it ain't going to happen.
No.
I mean, we still have we still have hundreds of millions of people to vaccinate.
There's that.
There's that. Yep. And, economy to rebuild and kumbaya to sing and all that stuff.
A suppression to put down or a sedition to put down.
We
We're
got
still
an
working on
insurrection
that.
to squash.
Yeah.
It's very busy. It's a very busy time of year.
The schedule's kind of full.
Let's see. Let me look.
I'm not seeing
Let's
any.
see. Squash an insurrection.
6 to 7.
Swear in a new president. Cure a pandemic. I'm all booked up. Put some seditionists in jail. Zip tie them right up. Yeah. So I don't even know what's happening. Did they really? Are there going to be any spectators at the inauguration?
I heard there's going to be 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000.
Smart. I mean, that should have been that. It should have been that way to begin with.
Yeah, maybe due to the pandemic and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You know,
I mean, I think that there's definitely value to making a show, to have the optics of like out with the old, in with the new, all of that kind of stuff. But I think maybe now is not the time for lots of like fanfare.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
We just got to get in there and just get to work.
Be like,
I don't care who's singing.
These, like, fancy balls and
Nope.
parades and all that stuff.
I think the optics of
Put
that.
your hand on a Bible, say the words, and get to work.
Get to work. I don't care who's singing the national anthem, what you're eating
The
for
national
dinner.
Poet that was in the paper today.
Whatever.
The national poet.
We can get to that.
Yeah.
We just got to get them in and get them working. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and also save that money.
Yeah, the money could go to something else.
Like the money for the inauguration, the money for the convention. That obviously we didn't have a normal convention last year, but all of that stuff. It's just so much money. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of waste. But 1 o'clock, right? Is the inauguration tomorrow? Noon. All
Noon.
right.
It's noon. That's when legally it's supposed to transfer. Okay. That's in the Constitution.
Right. That rag?
Yeah, right. If you
Constitution, Constitution. All right. So, so we'll recap on Thursday. We'll talk about the inauguration. I will watch it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. On Thursday, we're going to be going to Blue Zen.
Okay, did you
with
firm that
Pam.
up with Pam?
Yeah.
Excellent.
She's got it set up for us. We're going to be going down there.
Great.
So we'll be sitting down with Pam and talking Blue Zen stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Pam can talk a little bit of politics.
Yes.
So
and
maybe
I'm
she'll want to do that.
hear...
If she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to.
Right.
But we're going to be there on Thursday. Maybe by that time, you're going to want to take a break from inauguration stuff.
Yes, maybe.
Tune in
so we'll
at 5.
Okay, great. So we'll put that up tomorrow. We'll make the event, and we'll be talking to Pam at Blue Zen, which is, I got a sciatica right now she can work on. She's great.
It's flaring up.
She's really great, yeah. And she offers a lot of different services, and she's got other people in her collective that offer a lot of great things. So
what yoga, meditation.
Yeah, she does like
all
cupping and all sorts of stuff. No, I don't think she does leeching.
No leeches.
Definitely cupping.
Some cups.
Yeah.
Crystals. Can I put some crystals on my chakra while I'm getting cupped? I'll ask her on Thursday.
You can. Yes. I don't know if she has her oxygen bar anymore. All right, these two are like laughing at each other. Maybe Levi's not allowed back in the background anymore.
Quiet on set.
Yeah, quiet on set back there.
I'm trying to be funny. I'm also trying to be a little bit facetious because again, I lean left, but I'm not that far left.
Right.
I'm just not.
The crystals.
But I'm not. I don't want to stop anybody. I don't want to stop
chakra.
you. If you're into crystals,
Hey, listen, if they make you feel better, I got some
Do it.
crystals. I got some crystals by my bed.
if
They don't harm. They don't do any harm. They don't eat anything. It doesn't hurt to have them in the house.
and listen, I don't care who your crystals are having sex with, as long as they are doing it in a consensual way,
In a very safe
with
way.
adults.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think she has crystals down there, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. She might have. Like I said, it's a collective, so she's got other kind of providers.
We're going to find out on Thursday.
We're going to find all about it. And she's got a lot of great plants.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. I've seen the pictures
or
of
is that
Facebook.
Flora? That's Flora, right?
Who?
Flora. Is it Flora or
Flora?
Flora.
Fauna is animal.
Animals.
Flora is plants.
Got it.
Yeah.
Anxious
She's got a
to
lot
talk
of
to her.
flora.
Excellent.
Thanks.
I don't have any other
No news?
news except for that I did want to say congratulations to Dr. Levine, who I understand Biden is going to be appointing as the Assistant Health Secretary. Is that a cabinet position or a assistant to it?
The Secretary of Health is a cabinet position.
Senate.
Anybody that has that secretary in front of them, that's a cabinet
All right, well,
position.
she will be the assistant.
And cabinet
So-
the cabinet members can create or eliminate cabinet positions.
Right,
Do you understand
so
what
if
I'm
you
saying?
don't want to have like a Secretary of Education, you can just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there was a movement at one point in time, and it is still part of the conversation to eliminate the Department of Education, to eliminate it altogether. Some people on the right, some big C conservatives want to do that.
Why?
Huh?
Why? Rick Perry, he said.
Rick Perry's one of them.
Yeah.
And I would imagine guys like Rand Paul, like people that have more libertarian
They just want
beliefs.
to let the states deal
yeah,
with that.
just it's not a federal government responsibility.
Right.
So
And
Levine,
really, what did they ever do other than saying that that ketchup counts as a vegetable in a school lunch?
listen, I don't agree with that position, but
What? That tomato
I'm just
is
throwing
is
it out
vegetable?
there. No, I do agree with that. In my life, ketchup is a vegetable.
100%. Yes. Pizza counts as a vegetable.
Yeah, why not? It's got tomatoes on it. No, I was just saying congratulations to
Yeah. Dr. Levine.
Dr.
And,
Levine.
Say what
I don't
you will
know
about
I don't know the
Wolf.
proper pronoun.
It's a she.
Is it?
She.
Okay.
The pronoun is she. I didn't mean it's a she. I meant the proper pronoun is a she. So.
Right.
But I think that Dr. Levine and Wolf, say what you will, but I think they've done a great job. In Pennsylvania.
I've made the point. You don't have to worry about voting for him again. He's done. He reached his two terms.
I think that
he's done.
Wolf would have behaved a lot differently if he was going to be running again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
And also, you're here because of some of the things that he did.
Yes.
So you're here
Yes.
to bitch about him.
Yes.
Because of some of the things he
Exactly.
did. Keep that in your mind.
Here to tell about it.
Yes.
Although the data from Pottstown was
Not so good.
not so good.
Here's my problem.
Mask up,
and
Monco.
we're running out of time.
Yep.
But here's my problem. There's going to be backlash to all of this. And that's why I'm saying it's going to be so hard we have to fight. We have to be prepared to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think part of what we're experiencing now and over the past 4 years of Trump was backlash to having a black president. So it's
Just
great.
undoing
It's
everything.
great that we're having transgendered people and black people and women and minorities,
sorts
all
of,
that
like,
stuff.
the spectrum
I
of
think
all
it's
sorts of,
great. I think it's great,
Yeah.
especially in a democracy.
Yep.
That's what should be happening. But in 2 years, when you go to vote for primaries, in 4 years, you better be prepared to fight, because if you don't, there's going to be backlash to
Right.
this. That's
Right.
my only concern.
Right.
And people who are on that side of the political
Yeah.
spectrum better be prepared.
Right.
Don't think that you won any ground just because Levine's the Assistant
Well,
Secretary of Health.
And that you got to
I don't think you
just
can
because
claim
you-
any ground won, Levi.
just because you won it doesn't mean you got to keep fighting to keep it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to throw a thought at you there,
Yeah,
You want to come
go.
over?
and without opening up, a
What?
whole half hour.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
good,
go ahead.
because it's 5:59. So
But I think we might want to consider getting away from the rhetoric of using the word fight for everything that we do on both sides. That it connotes a level of violence that we don't need in our discourse. We can have conversations.
Right.
We can have spirited debate.
Sure.
But to use the word fight
Okay.
for everything, it's making me nuts.
Mashugana, if you will.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, once we've got all of these candidates that are sworn in and they're serving, we've got this great representation of what America really looks like, more than just a bunch of old white men. So now
Right.
we're starting to get a Congress that looks more representative of what America looks like.
Yeah,
right?
incrementally.
Yeah. So what would you say, Levi, instead of no, we have to fight to keep it that way. We have to work hard. What do you say?
I disagree with Levi. See, I don't agree with that. I think we do have to keep that word fight into some of the discussion. And if somebody isn't prepared to do the fighting, then find another role. There's another role for you to play.
Right.
So
Maybe
it's
fight
just a
for
fine
me.
line
It's a
between
diplomat.
Using that word, you got to fight, and Giuliani saying trial by combat.
I
you
understand.
have to go,
Right.
Be strong to Congress. That line gets real blurry real quick.
I agree with you. I agree with you from on the rhetorical. I understand your
Right.
argument,
Right.
and I understand why your argument's so important.
Yeah. And the nuance of that.
And
word,
the nuance of it. But I still am firm in my position that we have to keep that word within the lexicon.
I like
We
to
can't
keep the
eliminate
energy
it.
up. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep okay. So now
And
will
listen, we figured that all out in about a minute
about
and a
a
half.
minute and a half. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, it is 6:00.
It's 6:00. I gotta go.
And
I
we,
actually have stuff to do.
You got to go see a man about a horse.
That, and I gotta go look at a house, and I gotta
Ah.
call some other people about a house, and some
All
other
right.
people
So you got to
about
go see a
house.
man about a house.
Yeah. Yes. Ay, ay,
All
ay.
right. He is Matt Green.
At
At
Glocker
Glocker
Real
Real
Estate.
Estate.
I am your local real estate expert. Please call me when you want to sell your house. Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
Call me up. Amy Wolf is my lovely co-host from Wolf Baldwin and Associates, bringing you fine legal service in the Borough of Pottstown since 1973, now in Pennsburg.
Yes.
We are Porchcast. Let's talk